Good Monday morning, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into Sunrise this morning to get your work week started. I'm Intisar Faulkner. We do want to begin with our first alert forecast this morning. As we take a peek outside on the roadways at I-95 southbound, you can see a few cars making that morning commute, but we do have a dense fog advisory in place here in the Midlands, so you will want to give yourself some extra time this morning. Joining us is First Alert meteorologist Chandler Jordan with a breakdown on this. And Chandler, I like to say it looked like the upside down when I went outside this morning with that fog. So what did folks need to be aware of?
Yeah, you know, might have, for some of us, be like a Stranger Things episode this morning. But, you know, with the fog in place, not all of us are going to have this thick fog. It's where our advisory that's in effect is where the thickest of fog will be located. So that's Lee, Sumter, Clarendon, Orangeburg counties, and this is where we're going to have the greatest chance of fog that will drop visibilities below a mile. So keep in mind, again, not all of us getting in on the thick fog this morning, and so for some of us, the commute will flow a lot more smoothly than for some of us who are dealing with this thicker fog. You can see around Bishopville, Sumter, Manning, Orangeburg, where visibilities are below a mile right now, so take it easy as you get on the roads. Low beam lights will have you doing well, and you'll be able to get to where you need to be safely to get your Monday morning started. Temperatures don't feel too bad. We're in the upper 50s and low 60s this morning. All in all, a spring-like start for us this morning, and temperatures are going to climb once we get rid of the fog that's out there. And as I'd mentioned, not all of us dealing with this thicker fog. This is a look at Broad River Bridge on 126 in and out of downtown Columbia this morning, flowing smoothly. Looks good as well. Not really too much fog in place. And so for those of us who have this thicker fog around, keep in mind it'll last until about 10 a.m. And then for all of us, as the fog gets out of here, beautiful weather to work with, and it's warm too. Your high later today tops out at 82 degrees. Intisar, we'll talk a little bit more about how long we keep the warm temperatures in place after this morning's fog coming up in a few minutes.
New this morning, Iran has a new supreme leader as the war in the Middle East enters its second week. Across the country, Americans are dealing with higher gas prices, a consequence of the war that the administration insists will be short-term. NBC's Alice Barr sharing the latest from Washington.
This morning, with the U.S. and Israel still trading heavy fire with Iran, the nation is mourning a 7th American service member who U.S. Central Command says died from wounds suffered during an Iranian attack on Saudi Arabia a week ago. Following this weekend's dignified transfer for 6 of the fallen, President Trump acknowledged there may be more.
It's part of war. It's a sad part of war. It's the bad part of war.
The president not ruling out sending U.S. ground troops into Iran.
Possibly, for very good reason.
That as Iran named a new supreme leader, according to state-run media, Mojtaba Khamenei, son of the Ayatollah, killed in initial U.S.-Israeli strikes. President Trump had insisted on having a say in Iran's new leadership. The Iranian foreign minister rejecting that and calls for a ceasefire without a permanent end to the war.
Unless we get to that, I think we need to continue fighting for the sake of our people and our security.
As the escalating conflict disrupts critical oil channels, the cost of oil topping $100 a barrel for the first time in almost 4 years, with a gallon of gas now up nearly 50 cents in a week on average across the U.S. The administration adamant that'll be short term.
In the worst case, this is a week's. This is not a month's thing.
We're now seeing the ripple effects of this war with higher gas prices, with declining job numbers.
The defense secretary rejecting critics' calls for a clear timeline.
You don't tell anybody what your limits would be on an operation. We're willing to go as far as we need to in order to be successful.
In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Meanwhile, back here at home, an emotional homecoming at the Greenville-Spartanburg International Airport over the weekend. A Pickens County attorney back on U.S. soil after spending a week stuck in Dubai right in the middle of the escalating conflict. Into hugs and cheers when attorney Scott Dover came down that escalator at the airport and walked into his family's arms. He says his hotel in Dubai was hit during an intercepted drone strike last week and says sirens sent people running for cover. And part of the drone fell right near his hotel pool, sparking a fire. His family now saying they're just glad that he is back home.
I didn't know who would see him again or not. So we're just happy he's coming home.
He called me and he was just the terror in his voice. I just prayed that wasn't the last words I heard from my brother. At all of us siblings, the night that he was coming home and his family, he was 3 hours on the tarmac in the plane, still didn't know if he was getting out.
And God answers prayers. He still does today. He's bringing my brother back home. We weren't sure we'd see him again. And God answered our prayers.
Dover says his first flight out was canceled as more strikes were reported, but after a week of waiting, he was finally able to board a flight home. And as soon as his plane was over U.S. soil, he texted his family to let them know that he was safe. Mr. Dover, we are so glad that you are back home here in South Carolina. Enjoy that time with your family. Well, turning now to a first alert out of West Columbia, where police are now investigating a weekend shooting along Augusta Road. Police responded to that incident just last night. Once our crews were on the scene, they noticed multiple shell casings in the parking lot of the Walmart store there and a heavy police presence. However, officials have not yet verified exactly where that shooting took place. We're also taking a look at some new video that was sent in to us by a viewer this morning that shows damage to a few cars from that incident in the parking lot there. You can see the side windows shattered on one of those vehicles. Well, right now, there's no word on any possible injuries from this incident as it remains under investigation. As we learn any new details in this, we'll bring them to you both on air and online. In Columbia, police now asking for your help to identify suspects following a series of car break-ins in 2 neighborhoods. Well, CPD says several items were stolen from vehicles back on Saturday, also on February 28th. In the Kings Grant and Yorkshire neighborhoods. Investigators now working to determine if the same suspects were involved in each of these incidents. Anyone who might have information or victims with home security footage that could help identify those suspects is urged to please call the Columbia Police Department immediately. In Lexington County, the Sheriff's Department is now asking for the community's help to find a missing man they say disappeared more than a year ago. Investigators say they don't have any new leads right now in the disappearance of 24-year-old Drayton Lucas, who was last seen on Whetstone Road in Swansea back on February 8th of 2025. The Sheriff's Department is hopeful by reminding the public about this case, possibly new information could come to light.
That name and seeing Drayton's picture hopefully will jar something loose and get people thinking about him again. We want to hear from people if they have something that they feel very confident in, if they have some concrete information.
Anyone who might have information about the case is urged to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-888-CRIME-SC. You might be eligible for a cash reward. The biggest festival in the state is just a few days away. The annual St. Pat's and 5 Points Fest set for this upcoming weekend. It features performances this year by Grace Potter, along with Grammy award-winning band Switchfoot. The festival also features the annual parade that happens down Divine and Hardin Streets, with Taylor Swift tribute performer Elizabeth as Taylor set to serve as this year's Grand Marshal. For a full list of events and ticket information, head to this story at WISTV.com. Also happening this Wednesday, a statewide tornado drill will be taking place across the state's public schools and offices. It's also something you can do at home if you and your family want to participate. It's all designed to help practice emergency safety plans. Again, this is happening on Wednesday at 9 a.m. If you hear those tornado sirens across the area, do not be alarmed. Still to come on Sunrise this morning, from the State House to our nation's capital, the future of college sports now up for debate. Why President Trump says that he's stepping in, and if an executive order could impact universities here in the Palmetto State. Plus, changes coming to SNAP benefits that you'll want to know about, why some lawmakers want to permanently ban sugar and candy from the program.
A dense fog advisory remains in effect until 10 this morning, where visibilities will drop below a mile. We'll have another look at when the fog clears out and a little more on this First Alert Weather Day with another check of your forecast in a few minutes. Hey y'all, good morning. A First Alert Weather Day remains in effect until 10 a.m. for dense fog in place along the I-95 corridor. Not all of us are going to have thick fog this morning, and the good news is that after 10 a.m. we warm it up nicely. Beautiful spring-like day ahead with a high of 82 degrees. We'll stay in the 80s through Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon, your warmest day of the year, and then a cold front gets here Thursday. It'll bring us rounds of rain, rumbles of thunder, and then the temperatures behind it a little bit cooler for the end of the week. This morning, but our First Alert Weather Day remains in effect through 10 a.m. mainly for the I-95 corridor, and the best news is that after 10 a.m. nice bit of sunlight to work with today, and that's how temperatures are going to climb quickly. Spring-like afternoon for you. Your high is going to top out around 82 degrees, so just keep in mind that the thick fog is isolated, but for some of us, visibility is below a mile through 10 a.m. and then warm temperatures through Wednesday before a cold front brings us rain and thunder Thursday.
Awareness. That's what the city of
President Trump holding an extensive panel discussion on the future of college sports, highlighting what he claims are issues with NIL deals. WIS Washington correspondent John Decker taking questions directly to the White House on when we could see potential changes.
President Trump loves sports, attending just about every major sporting event in his second term. But the president has criticized college sports, arguing that name, image, and likeness deals have professionalized sports at colleges and universities across the country.
Mr. President, only you could pull this off.
Billed as the College Sports Roundtable, the president sought input from attendees like former college football coach Nick Saban, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, and former Secretary of State and current partial owner of the Denver Broncos, Condoleezza Rice. The president wants to establish a national framework for NIL.
Federal legislation must allow college athletic programs to set common sense rules, simple common sense rules, without endless litigation, and establish a fair name, image, and likeness standard that eliminates the patchwork of conflicting state laws.
That statement prompted me to ask this question to the president. What is your timeline for either the executive order that you just mentioned or the legislation that the members of Congress mentioned?
I will have an executive order within 1 week.
Well,
and
would it take effect before the fall semester for colleges and universities?
All-encompassing. And we're going to put it forward, and we're going to get sued, and we're going to see how it does.
President Trump last year signed an executive order intended to protect college sports, but it's not clear whether Friday's College Sports Roundtable will produce any concrete results. At the White House, I'm John Decker.
Well, the topic of NIL deals also a major talking point at the South Carolina State House, where lawmakers are deciding whether or not the deals should be private or not. University officials deny using state money to pay college athletes and say that making deals public could hurt their ability to recruit and keep players. State senators gave final approval on the bill last month. It now heads to the governor's desk, where it will be carefully reviewed, but it's unclear if Governor McMaster will actually sign it into law. It's also uncertain how Trump's possible executive order could impact college sports.
We issued a first alert weather day this morning because of a dense fog advisory that was issued by the National Weather Service for the I-95 corridor until 10 o'clock this morning. Now, I want you to keep in mind that not all of us are going to have thick fog this morning. It is isolated. However, for those of us who do have this fog in place, it will drop visibilities below a mile. So keep in mind there is some thick fog out there for some of us. You're going to want to use your low beam lights. That'll cut through the fog that's in place, and that'll allow for you to see safely and get you where you need to be to get going on your Monday morning. And at this time, that's where the concentrated thickest of fog is located, all up and down the I-95 corridor. Our advisory is in effect for Lee, Sumter, Clarendon, and Orangeburg counties until 10 o'clock this morning. And so once we get past 10 a.m., we have got some beautiful weather to work with, and it will be very, very nice outside later today. And you know what? For some of us this morning, it's still really nice outside. Again, the fog itself is isolated. Not all of us getting in on the thick fog. Looks beautiful out from our transmitter camera in Kershaw County, getting our first rays of sunlight. You can see in the valley just below our transmitter site where there's some fog in place. And temperatures for you are comfy. A lot of us in the upper 50s and low 60s as we're getting up and getting out the door this morning. And above any of the fog that you may have right now, there aren't really too many clouds out there. That's going to set us up to have some nice weather later today. The sunlight really going to help our temperatures climb quickly. We'll hit the afternoon with a high around 82 degrees. So it'll be warm, spring-like, beautiful weather for us to work with once we get into this afternoon. And we're going to keep warm temperatures around through the first half of this week. Wednesday, almost up to 90 degrees. Wednesday, that'll be the warmest day of the year so far, and then our next cold front will arrive Thursday. That'll drop temperatures back into the 60s and 70s, but still some nice temperatures for us to work with as we head towards the upcoming weekend. And we're going to get close to record highs later this week. I think Tuesdays it's safe to say it will be a safe record. Tuesday's record, 91 degrees. That was set back in 1974. Forecast high is 85, so we won't get close to that Tuesday. Wednesday, our record high, 88 degrees. That was set back in 1990. We have a lot better of a chance to tie or break this record. Our forecast high is 87. So just keep in mind that we get close to a record high temperature on Wednesday with our warmest day of the year so far. And then chances of rain will really pick up with this front on Thursday. With it staying warm, though, the first half of this week, great weather for a car wash. Beautiful today after the fog gets out of here this morning. Your Tuesday, a weak wave of energy brings us a little bit of rain, but not much. Only a few showers before lunchtime. For a lot of us, Tuesday stays dry. Wednesday will be dry for all of us. And then Thursday, we'll get this cold front to roll through. It'll bring us rain. It'll bring us rumbles of thunder, and then some real nice weather to work with behind it as we get into the upcoming weekend. So just keep in mind isolated pockets of thick fog this morning. Not all of us will have to deal with it, but it'll be there for some of us until 10 a.m. Once we get past that point into the 80s for a high temperature, close to 90 by Wednesday, and then our cold front will pass through Thursday. It'll be raining at times with some rumbles of thunder, and then nice weather to work with for the weekend.
Well, it was a great weekend to get outside and get active. The capital city hosted its third annual Jumpstart Your Heart Day party on Saturday. Our team went out to the event to bring us more details.
Movement, wellness, and awareness. That's what the City of Columbia brought for its Jumpstart Your Heart event. From yoga sessions to football drills led by Dutch Fork's quarterback coach, Joshua Boyd. For Boyd, the message is personal.
I had my incident, sudden cardiac arrest, that changed my life, and I no longer could be that quarterback on the field, so I had to find a different identity. I had to find a different way to be an impact to this world without having a helmet on. So there's different ways I feel like I can impact this world, is being an inspiration to these kids, to this youth, to this community, because that's what they did to me. They saved my life, and I just want to give back.
Events like this are about learning early. City of Columbia officials say what she hopes attenders receive from this event.
I hope that they realize the importance of heart healthiness and the importance of your fitness. I think a lot of people, even myself, don't really think about that stuff until we get a little bit older, and it's really important to start from a young age. So I really hope that as a community we can just start really learning about the importance of heart health.
The event also focuses on life-saving tools like CPR training and AED awareness. Boyd explains these tools are the reason he's still here today.
It means so much to me, man. It's a blessing because I got the opportunity to be here to spread this wellness, to spread the awareness, to spread the CPR training, to spread how important AEDs is to this whole world, to this community. And it's a blessing to me that God saved my life, that those firefighters saved my life, so I can be here and stand here today to show y'all it's so important.
Local sponsors and even a photo booth help keep the event lively. The goal remained the same, encouraging the Midlands to take care of the one thing everyone depends on, their heart. Jalen Long, WIS News 10.
Their fourth SEC tournament championship in a row, but the day didn't go as planned. Sports director Rick Henry and Julia Westerman recapping as they're on the road with the Gamecocks this morning.
Hello from Greenville. Rick Henry along with Julia Westerman, and it was a tough Sunday for the third-ranked Gamecock women as they lose the SEC Tournament Championship game to the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, South Carolina never led a single second against the Longhorns, and they suffer their first loss in this tournament dating back to 2022.
USC gets off to a rough start. Raven Johnson loses the ball to Justice Carlton. Layup 8-0. Joyce Edwards giving it up. Madison Booker scores on the fast break. The Longhorns lead 10-0. Raven turns it over again. Carlton converts the gift into a bucket. It's 14-0. Don Staley calls timeout. Texas scores 10 points in the first quarter of 5 USC turnovers. Tessa Johnson puts USC on the board with a three to make it 14-3. It takes nearly 3.5 minutes for USC to score. Maddie McDaniel providing a spark off the bench. She scores to make it 16-5. USC trails after one quarter, 27-12. Second period, Agat Makir's baseball pass to Joyce. She scores foul but missed a free throw. It's 27-14. Raven scores. The lead is now down to single digits, 29-20. Jordan Lee's three-pointer gives the Longhorns their largest lead of the half, 19 at 41-22. Texas shoots 61% in the first half and lead 45-28 at recess. Third quarter, Alicia Tornabese hits a turnaround. USC enters the final period down by 13, 57-44. Fourth quarter, a three-point play by Joyce cuts the deficit to 11, 63-52 with 6:34 to go. And that's as close as they would get. Texas stunned South Carolina 78-61. Julia, the Fams were hoping to celebrate a fourth consecutive SEC tournament championship. Instead, they were stunned because the Gamecocks were down by 17, and that's the largest halftime deficit in this event under Don Staley.
The good news is it's time for spring break, so they'll get to take a couple days off, get this disappointment behind them, and then prepare for the NCAA tournament.
We're a really good basketball team. We've been a great basketball team all season long. The record says it. And what I want to take from it is we actually got better. We need more depth. We need more probably blows for our starters. And we see we can get that from some of the things that happened out here this weekend.
We haven't lost in a while, and we've had a lot of momentum, so to have this and have adjustments that need to be made, and just understanding that we lost this game because we weren't connected on pretty much, we lost every battle today. So
I think we learned that we need to get a little mental tough, we need to get tougher there, and I think, we're going to get back to the drawing boards and learn from our mistakes today.
It's a blessing and a curse. Obviously, you want to win the SEC championship, but like you said, we're going to go back to practice, we're going to lock in, get focused, and hopefully win the national championship.
I'll bet Don Staley will be telling the same story over the next few weeks. The 2022 team that lost the SEC Tournament Championship, but then went on to win the National Championship.
And we'll find out next Sunday if this loss will cost the Gamecocks a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament. That's when the brackets will be revealed for the big dance. On the road with the Gamecocks, Rick Henry, Julie Westerman for WIS News 10 Sports.
So to come on the next half hour on the CW, living with a chronic illness can be hard on the mind as it often leads to self-isolation. We're going to share a story of how one woman is using group therapy to help her overcome her diagnosis.
This is WIS 10.
We appreciate y'all staying with us on Sunrise this morning. We issued a first alert weather day because of a dense fog advisory that's in effect until 10 a.m. for Lee, Sumter, Clarendon, and portions of Orangeburg County. And so far this morning, within the shaded areas of Silver, that's where I've seen the thickest of fog, and that's also where at times visibilities are going to be below a mile. And I want you to keep in mind as well, not all of us dealing with fog this morning. Some of us are good to go on the roads. Meanwhile, along the I-95 corridor through Bishopville, Sumter, Manning, around Orangeburg as well, that's where we've got this thick fog located. So use your low beam lights. That'll help you cut through and get you to see nicely as you're on the roads this morning. Temperatures are mild, but they don't feel too bad. It's a comfy start to your Monday morning. A lot of us in the upper 50s, a few of us in the low 60s as we're getting up and getting at it to get our Monday morning going. Any of this thick fog that is isolated will last from now until about 10 a.m. All of us are going to have a beautiful afternoon ahead. We're going to have some good sunlight to work with. Warm temperatures later today. Your high is going to top out around 82 degrees. Intisar, we'll talk a little bit more about how long the 80s are staying around coming up in a few minutes.
Meanwhile, at the State House this morning, the state is considering to make a permanent ban on candy, energy drinks, and sweetened beverages for food stamp purchases. Our State House reporter Stephen Biddix has that debate on the restrictions and critics say could backfire.
Incentives work much better than restrictions.
Starting in August, in certain states, the federal government is cutting candy, energy drinks, and sweetened beverages from SNAP benefits for 2 years. South Carolina is one of more than a dozen states making these restrictions. Katie DiTilio, with the Women's Rights and Empowerment Network, worries this could make shopping harder for families.
Grocery shopping will become more complicated. Families must spend more time navigating rules about what they can and cannot buy, and parents are placed in the difficult position of trying to balance nutrition, cost, and availability with fewer options.
State lawmakers now holding multiple hearings on whether to make those restrictions permanent state law. The South Carolina Retailers Association warned it could conflict with future federal policy. The Department of Social Services also raising red flags.
If a different party wins the White House or wins the halls of Congress, and we have this codified in state law, I don't know how that would shake out. I could see that being a challenge.
The South Carolina Retailers Association adding the bill would put retailers in a tough spot if state and federal policies don't align.
As SNAP is a federal program, SNAP retailers will comply with the federal laws and the federal program, but I don't believe it is fair to put them in a position to have to be out of compliance with state law by passing something that we know will be inconsistent with federal law.
Nobody testified in favor of the bill across multiple hearings, and senators took no action. If lawmakers pass the bill and federal rules change, the policy would likely face a challenge in the courts since SNAP is a federal program. Reporting at the State House, I'm Stephen Biddix.
Also, a reminder, new federal work requirements for SNAP benefits are now in effect. SNAP recipients must work a minimum of 20 hours per week or participate in approved activities like job readiness programs, job searching, or volunteering. Another significant change is that veterans, those experiencing homelessness, and youth who have aged out of the foster care system are now no longer exempt from these work requirements. Turning to a first alert out of Columbia, a death investigation now underway after a body was found over the weekend. Police say officers responded to what they're calling an unaccompanied death of a man on the 1900 block of Assembly Street. CPD says officers were called to that area around 4 p.m. yesterday after someone found the body. Officials say that the death does not appear to be suspicious. Meanwhile, 2 Columbia men are now behind bars after being pulled over in the Florida Keys early Sunday morning. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office now saying they arrested 44-year-old Andre Coker and 34-year-old Alberto Gutierrez following a traffic stop. A search of their car revealed a loaded gun, as well as nearly 70 grams of cocaine, over 20 grams of marijuana, and several prescription pills. Both now facing multiple charges, including trafficking cocaine and possession of a controlled substance. Continuing to remember late civil rights icon Reverend Jesse Jackson, leaders and community members gathering in Selma on Sunday morning for a special moment of reflection. During a commemorative service, Jackson was honored for his decades of leadership in the civil rights movement. Over the years, the Reverend maintained a strong connection to Selma and the legacy of the voting rights movement. His youngest son, Yusuf Jackson, who now helps lead the Rainbow Push Coalition, addressing the crowd, speaking about carrying forward his father's mission.
Big man, and he was a big father. Even in illness, he was big. On his feet,
amen.
In his wheelchair,
yes.
All right. Behind the podium, even when Parkinson's and progressive supranuclear palsy quieted his voice, he was still big. He believed that leveling the economic playing field could generate economic power and create a society where every child could reach their God-given potential.
Yes.
We have come far, but much work remains.
And Selma was not the only place to pay tribute to Jesse Jackson over the weekend. Celebrations also taking place across the country, including in Chicago on Saturday, where Grammy Award-winning artist Stevie Wonder paid his tribute through song.
The greed of man will be far away from me. My soul will be free. They won't go when I go home.
Stevie sang his 1974 hit, They Won't Go When I Go, at Jesse Jackson's service during the Rainbow Push Coalition celebration. Wonder says that he and Jackson had a long history of friendship and respect for one another.
I knew his heart. I respected his mind and trusted his soul. I wish we could say everyone did.
Well, this comes just a day after former presidents, governors, and Chicago dignitaries memorialized the late civil rights leader during a televised ceremony. You can find all the details about celebrations for Reverend Jesse Jackson across the country on our website, WISTV.com.
Along I-95, thick fog possible through 10 o'clock this morning. We'll talk a little bit more with another look at the visibility map as to where the fog is at, and then the beautiful weather behind it once we get into this afternoon. That's with another check of your forecast in a few minutes.
we saw the fastest growing outbreak actually in the U.S. history in recent times. We have now in South Carolina have the largest and the fastest growing outbreak in the country, at least in the last 20 years.
You heard that right. The largest cases of measles within the last 2 decades. That's happening right here in the Palmetto State. But the good news, cases right now are slowing down. The Department of Public Health confirming only 1 new measles case since last Tuesday, which brings the total number now to 991. 52 people are in quarantine, 3 are in isolation. Most measles cases in the upstate are confirmed in Spartanburg County, the area showing some of the lowest vaccination rates in the state. And since the start of the outbreak, there has been more than 17,000 doses of the MMR vaccine administered statewide. Health officials now saying that's a 70% increase. DPH also citing the spike in vaccinations as a key reason for those cases slowing down. Meanwhile, chronic disease, health experts say, is a medical condition that lasts at least a year and can take a toll on quality of life along with your mental health, is now affecting one woman. Mandy Gaither is speaking with her to see how she worked to overcome isolation through her diagnosis with the help of some new friends.
For Brianna Core, her 4-legged friends aren't just pets. These dogs give her purpose.
They get me out of bed in the morning. They bring so much joy.
Core says persistent fatigue from multiple sclerosis causes her to miss out on a lot in life. The isolation that first came with her diagnosis was one of the hardest things to deal with.
For me, it's obviously a very vulnerable situation, telling people how you feel and struggles you're going through.
But these canines make her comfortable.
Hi everyone, I'm Brianna.
And that's why she joined the Human-Animal Bond program formed at Cleveland Clinic. Through this online support group, she's met others with chronic neurological conditions, and they have more than just a diagnosis in common. They also all love animals, and their pets are active participants.
We see there are mental health benefits, physical health benefits, and social connection benefits when humans and animals interact.
Psychologist Breanne Markley says people who might have shied away from traditional group therapy are now reaping the benefits.
What we see when folks join the group is the connection is really quick and natural because there's this common interest.
Core says the group gives her something she didn't have before, a community.
I don't feel alone. I know there's other people that are going through the same situations that I am.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
We've got a first alert weather day that we've issued because of a dense fog advisory that's in effect until 10 a.m. and especially along the I-95 corridor. That's going to be our best chance at thick fog that causes visibilities to drop below a mile. Keep in mind that the fog that is out there is isolated. So not all of us will have to deal with thick fog this morning, but if you encounter any on your travels, use your low beam lights and that'll help you get to where you need to be safely as we're getting into our Monday morning. And our visibility map reflects much of the same. Notice how for some of us, no fog in place at all, like around Newberry or around Camden. But then you get close to the I-95 corridor where our advisory is in effect. That's where some of this thicker fog is settled in, and it'll stay with us until about 10 o'clock this morning. The next big change we're tracking in the First Alert Weather Center is our next cold front, and it gets here later this week. And with this front, we're going to have some rain. We're going to have some rumbles of thunder, and that's where we're going to have our next chance of rain that I think for many of us will have a good shot at getting into. Tuesday, a weak wave of energy is going to pass over South Carolina. As it does, a few showers can't be ruled out before lunchtime, but these opportunities for rain are few and far between. It's Thursday where we have a higher chance. That's going to be with this cold front as it passes through, and then something that'll be noticeable as well is that the temperatures are going to fall off behind it. Until it gets here, though, we're still in the 80s, highs in the 80s through Wednesday. Wednesday will be the warmest day of the year so far, in the upper 80s. And then once we get into the end of this week behind our front, highs are going to drop into the 60s and 70s. So keep in mind that we'll get some much needed rainfall Thursday. A little cooler at the end of this week, but still some very nice weather to work with. Above the fog that is out there this morning, a couple of clouds passing by, but not many. Here's a look at our Bull Street studios this morning. A little bit of this fog has settled in closer to the surface. There is some fog around Columbia, not a whole lot. The thickest of fog is still in place along the I-95 corridor. We're pairing that with temperatures that feel pretty good this morning. A lot of us in the upper 50s, a few of us hanging on to the low 60s. So as you're getting dressed, I'd say you could probably leave your jacket at home. If you bring a jacket with you, keep in mind that you will not need it at all this afternoon. Make sure you have something that helps you stay cool later today because we've got another warm day on tap. It'll be spring-like, real nice for us later on. Our high is going to top out around 82 degrees. That'll take place under a mostly sunny sky once we get into the afternoon. So our first alert weather day will come to a close at 10 this morning when the advisory expires, and we'll just have warm temperatures on tap through Wednesday. We'll get this cold front in here Thursday to bring us some rain and thunder, and then some real nice weather for us to work with Friday and into the upcoming weekend.
A dog in Virginia reaches superstar status. She's being called a hero after saving a woman's life. Desiree Montilla explaining how it all started with her usual morning walk.
We walk 5 miles a day, every day, and we've been doing that for 9 years.
A dreary day in the center of the universe.
Come on, Goge, you want to go for a walk?
Never stops Dan DeCandelo and his dog Gozer from taking their morning walks around the neighborhood.
Gozer is the child that we've never had.
But 3 weeks ago, their daily stroll took an unexpected turn.
We were about halfway up Henry Clay, heading towards the tracks, as we call it here in Ashland. And she started barking wildly at a house that we pass every single day.
Gosier pulled Dan towards the home, where they found a woman unresponsive on the front steps.
It was a woman who was on her back in a white robe, which camouflaged her and made it impossible to see from the road. She had no hat, she had no gloves, she had no shoes.
Dan quickly called 911 and talked to the homeowner, who says the woman didn't live there. While waiting for her first responders, Gosier stayed by her side, trying to wake her up.
Gosier was non-stop barking, and was barking at her, was fairly close to her.
Steps saving the woman's life just in the nick of time.
The woman, from what I understand, spent a week in ICU. Her body temperature was 78 degrees and somehow survived. Girl,
Gosier is being hailed a hero.
It's a good thing we stopped, because I wouldn't have done it without her. I would have walked right past, but she could see nothing.
A moment proving not all heroes wear capes.
Dogs are special. They have that sense that we don't have, and obviously that was well displayed that morning. It's like a proud father. Yes, my little girl.
Well, Iran has named their next supreme leader. It comes as new missile and drone strikes are being reported overnight across the Middle East. The conflict now claiming the life of a 7th U.S. service member. Military officials saying the service member was seriously injured during that attack on U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia, and they passed away over the weekend. Their name, however, has not yet been released. Meanwhile, on Saturday, the bodies of those 6 service members who were killed several weeks ago returned to the U.S. The initial wave of attacks led by the U.S. and Israel was part of Operation Epic Fury. country. And the strikes killed Iran's longtime supreme leader as well. Now his son being named the next ruler, and this marks the first time in over 35 years that the country has welcomed a new leader. Meanwhile, lawmakers on Capitol Hill are continuing to debate whether the U.S. is currently at war.
By definition, we're not at war. That's what Congress does when we declare war. There's about a 60-day clock where the president can do more or less what he wants to. But I think in this particular case, he's going to need a supplemental to sustain an effort.
The American people don't want this war. They don't want this war. They have seen what happens when American troops go into places like Iraq, places like Afghanistan. Ultimately, we get a lot of people killed. We waste a lot of dollars. The one thing the American people are clear about is that they do not want the United States dragged into another long-term war in the Middle East.
Back here at home in West Columbia, police are now investigating a weekend shooting along Augusta Road. They responded to that incident last night. While our WIS crews were at the scene, we noticed multiple shell casings in the parking lot of the Walmart store there and a heavy police presence. However, officials have not yet verified where exactly that shooting took place. Right now, there's no word on any possible injuries, and an investigation is ongoing. We did get a video from the viewer this morning of some of the damage that was left in that parking lot to some of the vehicles. You can find all of that along with this story on our website at wistv.com, and we'll update you with any new information this morning. Meanwhile, in Columbia, police are now asking for your help to identify suspects following a series of car break-ins in two neighborhoods. CPD says several items were stolen from cars on Saturday as well as on February 28th in the Kings Grant and Yorkshire neighborhoods. Investigators now working to determine if the same suspects were involved in each of these incidents. Anyone who might have any information or some home security footage that could help identify the suspects in this investigation is asked to contact the Columbia Police Department immediately.
Up and down the I-95 corridor, we've got some thick fog in place that'll linger a little bit longer.